Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, A Developer's Debate, Testing Popular AI Claims. I'm here with Ezequiel Olivas and Eduardo Noyer, both experienced web developers at Octahedroid. How are you guys?
Very good, very fine today. What about you?
Fine, fine. Very glad to be talking with you. How about you, Ezequiel?
I'm doing great. Thank you for letting us to be here.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And also, we're going to do something different today. Instead of discussing a particular topic or adding to the AI hype, we're actually testing these claims that you hear everywhere, like the ones that promise you transformation, but rarely they show you the behind the scenes. So basically, what Eduardo and Ezequiel are going to give us today is their developer experience and perspective. We will debate these claims based on what they have actually gone through, not what they have been told to expect. So basically, the idea is to separate this experience from the actual AI claims that everybody's talking about. But let's start right away. So, Edu, Ezequiel, the first question or the first claim that I wanted to debate with you is this one that you hear everywhere, that everyone says that you should integrate AI into your workflow immediately or get left behind. Like, what do you think? Is AI is ready for enterprise adoption? If you are not using it, are you really falling behind competitors, or what's your opinion?
Well, I can start on that one. For sure, it's something that you get like kind of scared that if you don't follow the hype, you will like get left behind. But for me personally, well, I haven't been completely involved in that bandwagon. So it's a matter of that. Well, it's a field that moves so fast today that you can see something this week and then in the next week there's a completely new model, completely revamped and much more, I don't know, efficient, right? Or give you responses or specific responses to something. But for me, it's difficult for example, as a backend developer to catch that bandwagon, right? I usually like to have some proof that if I incorporate something like AI in my workflows, right, I will have something in return quantifiable, right? So these kind of things, I know there are some benchmarks, but they're completely like testing the LLMs and how they respond instead of how useful they can be for somebody like me, for example. I don't know. What about you, Ezekiel?
Yeah, I mean, my proof is my experience because I started with GitHub Copilot since it was in beta, like, I don't know, 2021, 2022, when they only add autocomplete for your code and you can feel like, okay, I have a better auto-completion and that's all. And then I lived through this progression of having agents and that kind of stuff. So I can say that it's not ready to be in the whole workflow, but it's good enough to be, for example, in your process to understand a task and know how to deal with it. Is for me, it's ready to know, to help me through the process of finding the better solution for a problem. Yeah, it's yeah,
Yeah,
very helpful for that. Yeah.
yeah, like from what I hear, it's also like very depending on the role or the type of work that you're doing, no? Probably, as Edu said, like in the back end are something that are there are more variables or something like it's not so much patterns that maybe in front end. I don't know, and in maybe it has to do with something like that. I don't know what do you think? It really depends on the role, or is it just depending on the person, or what do you think on that regard?
I think it's kind of both. It's usually like the task that you're doing, if it can be like a pattern thing that's repeatable, of course it will help. It will
Mm,
help you much more than my personal experience with these LLMs. It's like I have not issues, but problems that I need to solve, but usually are completely different from one another, right?
yeah.
So that's why and also it depends on the tool, the right tool for the right task, right? So the LLMs currently, there seems like there are like this whole umbrella of things they can do, but they're starting to get specialized, right? That's something that also I will consider. But for me, and just to wrap up that idea, it's basically it's still like we need to find the proper um, context for that to use these LLMs and these tools. I know for a fact that Ezequiel has like more useful use cases instead of myself that I usually use it like as Ezequiel said, like an autocomplete, enrich autocomplete currently.
Mhm.
But I know Ezequiel has more like experiments and things like that that you can input, right?
Yeah, for example, well, LLMs are great for small tasks where you can encapsulate all of the needed context for that task. And in front end side, you can break down, and you need to break down stuff in components, in small pieces of software that can work alone because of the nature of React or that kind of front end frameworks. So in that case, having an agent, having an Copilot, for example, helps you a lot because you can create a component with all the needed context. And maybe in backend, where you have to interact with a lot of systems and bring data from a bunch of the places, you can't use it as in the front end. Yeah, maybe that's right. And at the very moment is a fact that for front end development is kind of more useful
Also,
because
it's the sorry, it's the more visual thing and immediate thing you can see when using LLMs. It's like, yeah, it generates this UI, and I ask with this context instead of the backend. It's a little more difficult to integrate it, just because of what you mentioned. Different places you need to process data and offer like already um, filtered data and being reactive to events and systems, inputs, output. There's more complex things that I think, in my opinion. But yeah, totally agree with you, Ezekiel.
So you would say that basically this rush to adopt these AIs in the workflows are driven more by FOMO, like fear of missing out, rather than real business value, or really depends on the use case? Because, like you said, no, Edu, we have this part like the things are constantly changing, but also Ezekiel finds certain tasks. Maybe it's not the whole workflow, but it's more like the way he's working, no? Maybe for him it's useful, and there's value in that, but like saying that if you don't use them as he's doing because you are gonna, I don't know, lose any business value, or you're gonna get behind. Like maybe it's not really the truth, right? It really depends, or what do you think? Is there a business value, or is it more FOMO?
it, it's always like a little bit of both. It can be like that impartial and say, hey, this will give you business value instead. But everyone is experimenting with LLMs. They're currently in their, not in their infancy, but trying to incorporate them into different workflows. It's like we're getting started and we're starting like the curve, right? The curve of adoption on that. So I don't think it might be driven by FOMO, but if you follow, I know things on Twitter, X, previously known as Twitter, right? You can see different opinions and strong opinions that hey, you need to integrate this because I did
Yeah.
this system, this thing with LLMs. But you as a company maybe can start exploring how to integrate it in the workflow. That's something that I think it could bring some value. That's what I think. It's maybe keep an eye on that, right? Start slowly trying to see where it fits, but don't rush to just integrate it because you want to have in your website that there's an AI bot, for example, or AI chat in your page, because otherwise investors won't want to invest money on you. But that kind of thing, I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Do you have anything else to add about that, Ezekiel?
yeah, I guess obviously there are a lot of hype and stuff, but for me, the reality is that if a tool can help you to focus on what matters, to focus on, bring impact instead of doing a bunch of busy work with, I don't know, doing stuff that you would know how to do and it's very repeatable, and you can have the AI that you be free for that from that kind of task. Obviously, there is a business impact. Like you have more time to plan a new feature. You have more time to I don't know, break down a complex task instead of doing again and again the same easily computable task. So yeah, the value is more in the side, like bring your focus on the right thing instead of repeatable as the stuff to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, rather than a replacement, it's actually kind of an enhancement, no, of the people, no? So at the end of the day, I would say that it's very important to still have this human in the loop. Like it's not really actually a replacement or this robot that's gonna take over. And that actually is a good segue to my second claim that it is about AI is intelligent and can make decisions like humans. No, like this is something that we'll listen repeatedly or read repeatedly on X, as Edu was saying. Like these AI tools are getting to so smart, they can think through problems just like experienced developers. What would you say about that? Maybe you, Ezequiel, like you were talking about it. Is it really that intelligent? Can we use it as a similar like is an experienced developer the same as this AI customized or I don't know, like very intelligent AI? What would you think in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, the term of intelligence is kind of weird and can bring some confusions, but we have to remember that AI is just like a machine that understand patterns and find correlation between what you say and what it should say at next token. Yeah, it's not really intelligent. It's just like a machine that understand patterns and follow that to bring you information from a data set training. So yeah, it's not a tool that can make you take a decision. It can help you to have, I don't know, find 3 or 4 kind ways to do that thing, ways to break down the problem, but it doesn't can think for you. You have to still use your brain, yeah. And as you say, it's like a boost. If you have the talent, if you know what are you doing, the AI will boost your performance, boost what you can bring to the business. Yeah, but no, it's not an intelligent. It's not a self work stuff. Yeah.
Would you add something, Edu?
Yeah, for sure. On that regard, I think it's as Ezekiel mentioned, they like it doesn't think. I would say, in a similar way like a human. Of course, it's a bunch of uh, simulating like neural connections, and you train that. But for me, it's more like you can get into things like maybe it's more like a gambling thing. You can try to make with LLMs. It's they usually like they're probabilistic, non-deterministic, right? So as a user, for example, will have like this phenomenon that was on a paper that I read recently. It's related that the feeling of using LLMs and expecting an output from them, it's super similar to gambling because sometimes you can get exactly what you expect. And then you have this bias of, yeah, LLMs will work all the time this way and will often suffice to accomplish a lot of tasks. But some other times, well, in my case, for example, my first experiences was like I didn't get something completely useful from them, and that's why I like a little bit not as motivated, for example, to include it in my workflows as Ezekiel, I would say, and also people get kind of addicted to that feeling, like if I try one more time, maybe I will get something else, right? So that's why I usually say like I don't think that LLMs are able to think like a human, for example. They understand patterns and they can uh, probabilistically like predict the next token to respond to something, and that correlates and on a bigger picture, well, makes sense to us like, hey, this thing answered me because I asked X and responded Y, but
Yeah.
it's usually non-deterministic. So yeah, I will add to no, they don't think. Yeah.
No, yeah, and that's an interesting point because it actually goes into how a human mind actually thinks, no? Because we could think that we are actually doing our work in a faster way or in a better way, but it's only this gambling mentality, like these slot machines, that you're expecting the result, and instead of doing the actual work, you spend your time waiting for that result
Wait,
that you got the first time, and it can maybe trick your mind, no? And it can maybe, because of your own experience, make you think that you are being efficient, but maybe you are just tricking yourself, or like, yeah, like having this gambling mentality. On that note, I wanted to ask you another question. Like, when is pattern matching sufficient versus when do you do when you need actual reasoning? Like, how can you differentiate, like, for example, these use cases that Ezequiel was talking about in the front end with components and things that are more like pattern wise, and this other actual reasoning that maybe in your case, Edu, it has more variables. It's not like this pattern recognition doesn't really help you. Like, how can people differentiate when it's actual, do you need actual thinking versus maybe the help from the AI?
I can add a little bit on that. I think it's for example, if you can put it on a document or in a, I don't know, you have a resource, a database resource on how to, for example, and this is me speaking as a backend, so correct me, Ezequiel, but if you have like a component design system, that's something that you can, as a developer, you reuse, right? And there's a set of rules already defined, so that may be something that an LLM can ingest, right? Those rules and provide you like some sort of answer. But when you need actual reasoning is, for example, you have like this issue or this new challenge on your system, right? And you need to find a way to solve it. And that's like the part that still I haven't been able to make an LLM to do. It's like,
Mm,
give me like the answer, the proper answer to solve this specific issue that involves like I don't know, changing a lot of stuff in your system instead of just a single component or a single piece. That's something that might help. That's what I use it as an autocomplete instead, more than uh, pr- telling them a big problem because I don't know. I know there are other models that are like super specialized to create PRDs, right? To write like the specification for your project. Maybe that's something that also that LLMs can help. But I don't know. I will stop there. I want to hear what Ezequiel has to to bring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Coming from your point of system designs, in Octahedroid, we are doing a bunch of internal trainings for that. Okay, the gambling stuff is true, but for me, I love the parallelism with poker. That is an actual sport that always have the same people playing in a gambling game. You know, it's like kind of weird. One person can't have always a luckily game, you know, it's
yeah.
impossible. But there are strategies to fight against that non-determinist answers from the LLMs. And the system designs are one of them. If you have a way to do, I don't know, a page view or something like that, you can tell the LLM, hey, remember these patterns in your context to answer our questions.
Mm,
And that we are doing in Octahedroid, are we learning in that internal trainings for use the LLM as a tool that can let us to reuse, to because we have the knowledge of how to do the things and we want a way to do it faster. And I
mm.
guess that's where pattern matching works because we bring all our knowledge, all of that conversation we did into how to deal with some problems and make it available for the LLM. So I
Yeah.
guess that's where you can use a pattern matching.
Yeah. So like what I'm hearing is like you really need a lot of this. I mean, it has to be very task specific or very like centered around a specific area that has these patterns or these design systems, but also it's something that you need to have like a context library kind of, no? Like these examples that it doesn't only involve the examples per se, but also like the knowledge behind them, no? Like your own experience with them. Why are we doing it like that? And all of that, it's actual human effort. It's not like the robot is gonna tell you, ah, you have to do it like this, or at least not yet. And we are not at that point. And that's also a good transition to actually to my the third claim, that it is about AI reduces costs by replacing junior developers. No, like companies like to say a lot lately that they are already replacing entire junior teams with AI. They say that it's cheaper and even more efficient. No, but I don't know what would you say in regards of that? Uh,
I can provide some insight on that. It's something that I always think about with this environment of changing things, and
yeah,
that's something that they want always to not impose but offer. Like, yeah, you if you use LLMs, you will save some cost. But if
yeah,
you start to analyze that, and in the real world, for me, it's more like you move the resources that you invest from instead of I don't know, have the juniors, right, working
mm,
on something. And I say juniors just because it's like the most easy example.
yeah,
And you, instead of investing in juniors and training juniors, you move that to pay for LLMs, right? And they have a cost based on tokens and everything. So instead of like reducing the cost, you're just like moving the cost from one thing just to another place.
yeah,
And you still need somebody to to like uh, be able mm, to make sure that the result you get from that are valid or not. Like you're not going to implement as is the output as is, right? You always like analyze it, filter it, review it, right?
yeah,
So you still need to do some work. You're not completely like replacing somebody in that. You just reduce costs also. It's for me, it's more like you move costs from one thing to another. And another thing, it's like, as I mentioned, you need somebody that knows what you're asking, and the expected result is like kind of a paradox, right? Because you need to already know the thing that you want from the LLM to properly review it. So it's not something that, hey, yeah, we're gonna replace all juniors with LLMs. You're still gonna need somebody to review this output anyways. It's super similar that when you have juniors working on something, you have a senior or mid or senior developer reviewing them that their work is efficient and doesn't have bugs and things like that. So, I want to say it's like also if you invest on that as a company, you need somebody to be accountable for those changes too. It's not like
yeah,
you leverage to the LLM and that's it. It's also you ask for something, you're going to be accountable for the outcome of that. If you break a system because the LLM told you a bad answer, you're responsible for that anyway. So it's not replacing, it's more like moving the also the accountability to another place, another person. But that's what I
yeah.
can provide on that point. Yeah.
What do you think, Ezequiel?
Yeah, I guess specifically for the inner question, you can't reduce the human needed in the product because how LLMs works, you can put all a project in the context window. So you still need a developer that knows where the change should be needed to do. For example, if you want to change a contact us page, you still need a developer that knows how the contact page works, where is it, what components are impacting in that part of the website, because you have a limit in what you can put into the context window of an LLM. So only with that argument, you can say, no, you still need juniors, you still need mid, you still need seniors to do the things. And yeah, but it will help you to reduce the bridge between someone new in your team because they can ask to the LLM, hey, how how my team is doing this stuff. You can ask the LLM, hey, check the code and let me know how I can introduce a new component, for example. It can help the juniors to know how to do their work instead of replace them.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the value of having an AI helping you.
Yeah, and I think something that I have thought when I heard this claim is that when companies say that they are going to replace juniors, doing they are like shooting themselves in the foot or something like that, because if you don't have if you are not training people, if you're not growing your people, you are eventually like, I don't know, like your team is not gonna be as diverse. Or what I think it's the value of working with other people is that in this kind of problems, and everyone can come with a different solution, and maybe a more efficient solution than you, even when you're an experienced developer, well, in my case, a marketer or something like that. And sometimes if you take out people from the equation, like you are losing yourself from that opportunity to grow as a company, but also as a professional, no? Because the juniors from today are gonna be the seniors of tomorrow. And if you cut out that, I don't know, like I wouldn't, like a lot of people wouldn't be here if you didn't give them the opportunity, like to learn, as you were saying, no? And rather than replace them, as you are saying, Ezequiel, maybe AI can be the tool that helps them accelerate that process, or at least help them to get to, I don't know, a higher seniority level. So yeah, I don't think it's like a good idea to say that you're gonna replace all your junior developers from that human aspect even. But in that same note, I think it's one of the things that you were saying, Edu, that it's very important, and I actually want to take into account in this next claim is this ethical dilemma, no? Like the other claim is we need to establish AI ethics and data protection policies. And that goes in the same regard with this accountability and who is responsible for the use of this AI, no? Because if you are using AI for a client's project, or I don't know, you are working for this big enterprise and you are not careful, like there can be a lot of repercussions or consequences. Like what do you think about these AI ethics and data protection policies?
I mean, I can give Ezequiel this one to start just to hear
Yeah. So
something.
yeah, I mean, from front-end side, we have to deal a lot with sensitive data because we are the input single point. We have the forms, we have where the user introduces their passwords, their data. So it's very important to think about it because we cannot leak data from clients.
Yeah, right.
One reason is because in LLMs you cannot encrypt the what you are telling the LLM. In other systems, you can use some algorithms to encrypt text. You can do that kind of stuff. But for LLMs, since they need the text as it is, you cannot encrypt it. So if you tell to, I don't know, ChatGPT or Cloud, you are sending to OpenAI, to Anthropic, all what you are saying, So if you are telling them passwords, then this is a mess, You cannot. So we have to understand what we can say to the LLM. You need to know if you can, like, I don't know, bring mock data, bring false data that match the structure that you need to use, but you cannot use directly client data in LLM. So you can have to think that, use your ethics, use you need to be responsible of what you are using and what you are sending to an LLM. Even if you are self-hosting your model, you can do that, but there is in a file system what you're saying in plain text. So yeah, I don't know either what you want to say about it, but
Similar. I mean, just in the last part that it says that we just need some basic guidelines of course, there shouldn't be basic. I mean, we need strict guidelines to how we
Yeah.
treat data from clients, from anyone. Yeah, if you're interacting with your cell phone now, it's like the closest example. You have like a lot of data in your cell phone, and you have these LLMs, and everyone wants that you use them. Like all companies want that you use and ingest like your data. So it's completely important to me that we have like these strict guidelines and uh, regulations also, that what they do with their data once enters the models. Do we let them to train on our personal data and personal information? Do we not let them? And usually that comes, weirdly enough, with a cost. Usually, if you, for example, see Gemini, I know that for workspaces, for the plan that you have for companies with Google, they don't train data that you input if you're a part of a Google workspace, right? It actually says that when you use Gemini. But for the regular people that use Google services, like myself, you don't have like that option. It's like we are going to train with your data unless you uncheck this setting that it's completely hidden in your application. So we still need some regulations to make this easier, that our data is completely safe and protected and not used or abused, right? On data leaks, or for example, let's say a hypothetical case in the future, there's a leak or somebody finds a way to leak information from the LLM trained data, right? And expose that as a, I don't know, as a data breach, right?
Mm.
And you will get like contacts, phone numbers, your photos, everything, for example. So I completely agree that we need strict guidelines, and hopefully it's not just about the companies, also governments need to enter the scene, and that gets completely messy always.
Yeah.
But I agree that we need to establish these guidelines because for example, I wouldn't want my personal data to be available for everyone.
Mm.
It's
Exactly.
something that I really like to be like privacy focused and develop services and things that are completely privacy focused and use the less amount of personal data that you need. And these things are really personal. For example, they train for us developers, right? They train on a bunch of projects and codes and on GitHub, for example. And that's something that it's not easy to opt out, right? Also, that's something,
Mm.
that's another kind of worms
Yeah,
that you
totally.
that how easy it is to opt out of these services and this training data that you don't want to be part of. But yeah, completely agree that with Ezequiel that we need stronger policies to be able to complete using. I mean, more like taking full advantage, I would say, of
Mm.
LLMs. And if we need to send them data, at least please make sure that that thing is secure. That's like TLDR on this. Yeah.
Yeah, like it even gets into this philosophical debate, like, oh, actually, no, like once you are aware of it, like, is it really actually possible to opt out of this, like you were saying, no? Because like we are so used now to give our information away. If you're using social media or sharing, like people give it away now so easily and even without thinking. But because when you become conscious of how much you are sharing, and now with these LLMs that sometimes people talk to them as if they were their therapists, or that they reveal very personal information, it can actually be very dangerous, because there's been instances where these CEOs of these AI companies have said that you shouldn't do that, like, because it's not confidential, no, or all of that information it's available to us, and I think people diminish the risk of it, no, and yeah, like you were saying, like sometimes the companies dismiss it as something like, we just need to have basic guidelines, but actually we should have very strict guidelines, like you said, no, because of all of the implications, and make people aware of all of these philosophical or even, well, ethical, philosophical uh, dilemmas or things that you get into when you share this much information with a technology like this. Um, but okay, like now we're going to one last claim that maybe it summarizes everything that we have been talking about. Like there's this feeling that AI will create a new bubble, or it's actually the new bubble that it's about to burst. No, like because all of this that we have been talking about, like there has been a lot of claims that maybe a lot of people are not so sure that have actually been accomplished or actually became true, or like when you think a little bit more about that, like what we are doing right now, it doesn't seem like this revolutionary or the as revolutionary technology as everybody seems to say that AGI is coming and it's gonna take our jobs or replace humanity. But it seems like it's not really like that. Would you say like is this like the next dot-com bubble waiting to crash, or what do you think in that regard?
I can answer that as I have fresh memory of the dot-com bubble. That was a disaster, yeah. But here I mean, there are a lot of similar scenarios, similar patterns that are repeating with AI and LLMs. I know it's wonderful we have like these tools and uh, these new inventions. It's something that I'm always gonna advocate for, right? But in this case, it's getting you can see it everywhere, right?
Mm,
Whatever you do, whatever application, service, whatever, it's always with something that's AI. It was a little bit like a couple of years ago, it was everything is smart, like smart TVs, smart
yeah.
refrigerators, and everything. Now it's everything with AI because it's what attracts investors. I would think this is not financial advice, but it's starting to feel similar because everyone wants this thing everywhere. Like everyone should have had a website before, right? It was like that kind of thing. So if you invest on websites, you will get rich super easily. But today it's similar to LLMs. Everyone who invests this money is like they're promising huge returns because you will
Mm,
cut costs, right? And will get a lot of return of investment. But as you can see that since OpenAI it started with ChatGPT, everything exploded, and they had these big promises that it will revolutionize how we work, right? But
mm,
it's been like how many years? 2, 3 years, I think.
yeah.
You can correct me on
Almost
that
three,
later, but
almost 3 years, I think. Yeah.
it's been getting really smart quotes, right? But these promise that all companies, if they incorporate this AI stuff, will get richer. It's kind of I haven't seen that yet in
Mm,
other, for example. Uh, how can I put it? It's more like uh, you will invest money on this, right? But it's not as certain that you will get this return of investment immediately. And also, these services are expensive, so you need to have the cash and accept a little bit of loss maybe to see some return in the future. It's not like something that's going to happen like if you invest today, in a month you will get a lot of return. So yeah, that's similar. That's what I think. And like generally, it feels like a bubble, and we're starting to see these kind of things like maybe what OpenAI asked for their hardware, for example, on how to run it. You can see players like DeepSeek, right? The Chinese company
mm,
that
yeah.
bring their model that run much more efficient in the same or even low cost hardware. So they're starting to see like as always the market it will balance itself, but
Mm,
you can see these little cracks that's why I would say that it's super similar to the dot-com bubble. Yeah. I don't
yeah.
know, Ezequiel. What do you think?
Yeah, I, well, there is one thing. The bubble maybe exists in the term of investment, but the technology is real. And
Mm,
how it works is real. The benefits of having a boost in your performance, the benefits of letting you, I don't know, with one prompt go to a service like V0 or Lovable and create a starting point for an app, not a complete one, not the very one, but a starting point that's completely real. You know, you can have a better start. And what I'm seeing is that there is like the classic technology adoption curve where now everyone is like, oh, the AI is the better way to invest our money. Everything will have AI, and we need to find the holy grail of this. But in the future, maybe some people will say, hey, maybe we were wrong. Maybe the AI is used for these specific use cases, and then the hype curve will be down, and then it will find the niche where it works, and then it will stabilize. So yeah, maybe the investment bubble is real, maybe the big players are betting in it, but the technology is real, and that's what matters. We can now provide impact for customers. We can bring new features fastest as ever because we have a new tool that helps a lot. I guess that's what matters, the reality behind the bubble. And yeah, maybe everyone wants to integrate AI everywhere. Maybe that's a bad decision because sometimes you don't need a no determinism way to analyze your data. You can use always like algorithms, like make reports as we are doing for age, but sometimes it works because it can help you to find patterns in your data that you cannot do in a determinist way. And that's what is exciting because you have these real use cases that allow new ways to do things. And yeah, that's what I think about the world. Maybe it's real investment world, but for create and for deliver apps, it's real and it matters, and it matters how to learn how to use it. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Like, it's interesting what you're saying, no? Like, even though there's an economic bubble, the technology is there, and maybe it's more like, and it's the economical expectations need to be balanced out, no? Like, they need to be like realigned to what actually, what is the actual value it can provide, because I think like Edu was saying, like it was something that grew disproportionately, mainly because how it was sold to us, like all of this open AI craze and all of those promises. But now that the implementers are seeing the real risks or what it actually costs, it's not like those economical expectations are like becoming more realistic, no? Like I think like it was an estimate that was used as a marketing point, like selling point, and it doesn't really match the reality of the technology, but the technology is there, and eventually when this all of this like kind of gets a little less crazier and people start seeing the technology for what it is, um, just as the other dot-com bubble, like the real use cases or the real implementations are starting will start to really appear, and yeah, like they will be like the survivors of this market, because like yeah, like I think that the problem with the bubble is that a lot of the promises are gonna disappear, or a lot of players, no? Like that right now are very strong are not gonna be there anymore. But yeah, like it's interesting because it's also like something we're seeing in real time, and like we were saying at the beginning, it changes from one moment to another. Um, but like yeah, like I think it has actually it has decreased, like this kind of revolutionary improvements, like the last time that OpenAI released a model, it wasn't as well received as like the last time. And I suppose because we're hitting a limit, or we're getting to, I don't know, like maybe at other maybe you can tell me, what do you think? Like we're getting to the limit of what actually AI can provide, like realistically, and we're not getting maybe beyond that, or what do you think? Like is this like as much as good as it gets, or maybe the next implementation has to be something in coordination with a human or something like that. I don't know. What do you see in that regard of the technology and the way the state it is right now?
I can provide some insights on that. I think it's as always you need this new, for example, GPT was kind of a paper from Google at the very beginning,
Yeah.
and then it came like OpenAI implementing it, and then it's been like in the scientific world, I think we need like these breakthroughs in order to keep improving LLMs. They're focusing on things like how to improve like managing huge contexts, like context windows for LLMs to understand better, bigger amount of information, right? So currently, I will say that it will be like an uninformed assertion to say that we're hitting the limit right now. It's more like we can still improve them. I mean, we're in that part of the software development process that you have something and now you want to make it as performant as possible to use less resources.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I think it will start to being more easier to, for example, if I want to run an LLM on my machine, the bigger models, it should start to become more affordable, more easier. So maybe we're seeing like that part currently, and also as always happens, you can't predict if what you're in currently is a bubble or not. You always realize afterwards that you were in a bubble.
Yeah.
So we're in the cusp, in the middle, just right in the middle, to understand if we are in a bubble or not, and if we're going to keep improving models or not, or they're now from now on. I mean, there's this thing you mentioned before. It was related to AGI, right? That's like the big promise. The next goal.
Yeah.
They have like working models that can process a lot of data,
Yeah.
but still the next goal is like I want to train or have a single model that can do a good amount of stuff, different stuff. And I think we still need, there's still time there. I don't see it like it's coming. Maybe I can be wrong. I'm visiting this from a year from now and surprise, we have AGI, but I don't think so because it needs like this kind of breakthroughs in the
Yeah.
scientific world first and papers, and then somebody that has the money to actually prove that and make a model that works financially. There's a lot of things that it's like, uh, as always say, there's a coming soon TM in this regard. It's like check later, but yeah, I think we're hitting not a limit, but we're starting to see how to improve the existing technologies we have. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think, Ezequiel?
Yeah, I guess we are like in the beginning of this era of the AI where it gets boring. I mean, when technology gets boring is where it's more reliable to use
Yeah.
because we came from we don't have AI, we don't have nothing, and everything is magical. You know, everything is exciting, everything is like, hey, we can generate stuff from nothing, and then the people use it and use it and use it, and it's like, hey, this generate code, this generate text, this generate image, me, you know. But this is maybe we cannot get a better AI, but it gets more efficient in electricity usage, in memory needed to have it, and we can use it in our machines. And maybe it's not better to generate, but doesn't cost what it costs now. That is a lot of money. So I guess that will be the following steps: having a cheaper AI, having a more efficient one that use a better algorithms to don't overuse infrastructure. I mean, because it's good enough now for almost every use case is enough. So maybe it's just time to have it with a better performance. And then when we have a better performance, as we saw in cell phone, as we saw in, I don't know, 3D printing, we can have then new improvements because you can reuse more infrastructure, but with fewer costs, so we can use it more. And yeah, then the wheel of how it works. Yeah, maybe we'll be get better at use less resources instead of, hey, no, it can generate more because you don't need to generate more, you know?
Yeah, no, I get it. No, and it's pretty interesting because, like as you said, like those improvements of cost, like efficiency, like all of those little things that now we get to improve because now we kind of know the models, or they are getting into this like phase where there's not these revolutionary changes. They're actually pretty important, no? Like if you are an enterprise and you actually want to make your process more efficient or your workflows, those are the things that you have to pay attention to. But they are not as, I don't know, something like you don't get viral by saying like, I improved my workflow by 5%, no, or something like that, or like the speed or like the cost. I reduce costs. Like it's not as flashy, no, as all of these people talking about that, no? And that was the point of this webinar, to like highlight all of these claims that actually are more a marketing move than an actual reality. But there are some benefits if you know how to use this technology, no? So just to recap, I want to go to some quick key takeaways from this webinar before we say goodbye. Like I would say, like we learned like AI is a powerful tool for specific use cases. It's not a universal solution. And also, success requires a strategic implementation based on your team's expertise and needs. You always have to think about your specific use cases within your team and your company. And the technology is still evolving, no? And timing matters, no? Like maybe right now, or like 1 year ago, we couldn't say if we could implement this in our workflows. It was changing a lot. But now with this, we're getting in this new phase of the technology that it's not changing that rapidly. We can actually implement it in useful ways, like Ezequiel was saying. And security can't be sacrificed. No, it's something that maybe we should highlight more. Like it's important that companies or people using these LLMs still that they are very aware of this point, no, because it's something that can retaliate and or be something that I don't know, a risk that you cannot you cannot have it in your company because of what is the cost of that, no? But basically, that would be all. Just for everyone watching, just to remind us that if you need help with AI implementation, in Octahedroid, we actually like to use this philosophy of focusing more on evidence-based adoption over hype-driven decisions and have clear policies. And always we focus on augmenting human expertise rather than replacing it. So if you need this strategic integration or you need guidance, reach out to us, and you can even like talk to one of our experts. I don't know if maybe you could reach out to Ezequiel or Edu. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for your time, for sharing your expertise, and hope we can repeat this soon. But thank you again for everything.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks. It was amazing. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. And to everyone watching, see you on the next one. Bye bye.